Hi, it's Keith from the Evangelical Free Church, Stony Stratford, and we're continuing our series of short talks in the Gospel of Mark. And today we come to chapter 13, verses 24 to 31. Now, Jesus is in the middle of answering the disciples' question about when will these things happen, which they've asked in relation to the destruction of the temple. Now, the thing to remember is this. For them, the destruction of the temple wasn't just a tragedy, it was akin to the end of the world. I don't know about you, I like relaxing after days of with my nose stuck in books on theology and various other things. I like to relax by watching a film. But I like a film that you see a second layer or a third layer each time you watch it. You know, you can watch it the first time, you can see what's happening, the action can be quite good and the story can be quite good, but you then pick up other strands. Now, I've already said that to the disciples, the idea of the temple being destroyed was akin to the end of the world. So Jesus now, after talking a bit about the temple being destroyed, and he will return to that, starts to talk about the very end of the age. And he does this by using a quote and some other comments from the book of Isaiah. We read in verse 24, "But in those days, following that distress, the sun will be darkened and the moon will not give its light. The stars will fall from the sky and the heavenly bodies will be shaken." Quite a sort of global type of catastrophe. But why does he use these particular quotes from Isaiah? Well, he does it because basically they are talking about the end of the age. That's the prophecy of Isaiah. He's talking about the destruction of Babylon. But again, Babylon was such a superpower that it would have been akin to sort of the fall of a nation or the end of all things. And the second prophecy he uses, which is again from Isaiah in chapter 34, verse 4, is basically talking about judgment against the nations. So Jesus is talking about worldwide events here. And here is the second layer. If the disciples thought the destruction of the temple heralded the end of the age, this is what the end of the age will be like. And Jesus continues on that theme, verse 26. "At that time, men will see the Son of Man coming in the clouds with great power and glory." He uses an illustration from the book of the prophet Daniel, Daniel 7, verse 13, where it talks about one like the Son of Man, the pre-incarnate Christ, coming into the presence of the Lord God. Well, he now is literally a Son of Man, isn't he? So he uses this quote, "You will see the Son of Man coming in clouds with great power," just as was spoken of in Daniel 7, verse 13. He comes with authority. He comes to judge. But it's not all bad news. Verse 27. "He will send his angels to gather his elect from the four winds, from the ends of the earth to the ends of the heavens." Jesus is looking out for his people. And that must have been an encouragement to the disciples. Well, they must be wondering how they're going to understand all this. How are they going to understand when things are going to happen? Well, Jesus gives them an illustration from nature. He says, basically read the signs as you would. When the fig tree, when its leaves start to come out, when its twigs get tender, you know that summer's coming. When you start to see certain things happening, you will know that the destruction of the temple is imminent. That's what he's teaching them here. Be prepared. be warned. Now, many people and many believers in Jerusalem at the time when the Romans destroyed the temple started to read those signs and left the city. So Jesus is now talking about that generation. And here he focuses on something for them, which is an encouragement. Verse 30. I tell you the truth, this generation will certainly not pass away until these things have happened. That was what happened. AD 70, the Romans were to continue their war against the Jews, and eventually it ended in the temple's destruction. They were going to see it in their lifetime. But again, there's this note of comfort in all this. Jesus ends this section by saying this, verse 31, heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away. You know, I'm going to hazard a guess. I don't have to hazard a guess, I probably know. The disciples would have been very perturbed by what they just heard. But Jesus says, look, in an uncertain world, you can be certain of what I say. You see, Jesus is a constant, even when everything else is changing around us. I've used this verse before, but it's a good one. Hebrews chapter 13 and verse 8. Jesus Christ is the same yesterday and today and forever. You see, there's security. The writer of the Hebrews were writing to people who were under pressure. They knew they were going to have to face persecution soon. But what the writer is saying is Jesus can be trusted. As we look around an uncertain world, where are we going to put our faith? Well, Jesus gives us a great offer. The world may change, he doesn't. If we come to him, if we stop living our lives as we would want to live them and place them in his very capable hands, we can have security. Thank you for listening. If you're interested, there is the Gospels on the railings outside the church. Please feel free to come and take one. They're free, or phone me. I'll put one round to you if you can't make it. They are free. Thanks for listening again.